look for folks to use this property until they get some kind of approvals. But on the other hand, it's hard for the county to give them approvals when we don't know what's going to go in there. Then they talked about a bakery. Well, you know, a bakery might be 400 people. That's interesting. So I guess my, I don't know, advice would to you all would be, say, don't rush your decisions. Look at all this, and you all know how to do it far better than me. And just look at what this is going to benefit for the county. If it's going to bring in jobs like you're talking about, then that's something, maybe it's worth working through these other steps to do it. But if it's going to be just a huge box eyesore for the county and 2 jobs, no. So I think everything else has been said, but I just wanted to put that in the mix along with all the million other things you got to think about. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy Costa? She's still here? Okay. Judy Gifford.
Raise your hand. You affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Name and address, please.
Judy Gifford, 12246 Locust Grove Road, Kennedyville, Maryland. And I, too, am a cyclist, and it's not only local cyclists that use these roads, but tours from Vermont come down all the time by my area, and they come down several times a year, and there were other tours that I might not catch on the road. And so it's a huge tourism issue as well, so it's not just locals, but cycling is also helps keep the bed and breakfast. I know they stay at Crow Farm all the time, so it does add income to the economy. I want to say that it's easy to get wrapped up in the maps, diagrams, and reports presented in the preliminary plan, but it is important to keep in mind that the land use ordinance should be the guiding principle in your deliberations. The LUO provides a comprehensive approach to regulations that affect land use. The purpose of the ordinance is to promote health, safety, general welfare, and prosperity of present and future inhabitants of Kent County by preventing unwise land use that requires costly infrastructure or harms existing communities, minimizes damage to private property, providing for the enhancement of attractiveness of Kent County through good design and arrangement, enhancing the county's employment base, protecting the biological and environmental quality of Kent County, including forest, water quality, habitat, wetlands, and reducing the effects of land use on erosion and stream channel erosion. All of these requirements are equally important. None are given more weight than the other, so your difficult job is to find a balance. This preliminary plan is problematic as is it a spec problem, as it is a spec project. And I'm just adding, after hearing from the developer, that it's going to be based on trust. And I have to say, we've lost a lot of trust today. We have no idea if there will be a tenant, who that tenant might be, what the use of the building will be, how many trucks will be using our roads, what chemicals will be put into our sewer system, what the hours of operation will be, or future demands on our public services and infrastructure. It is difficult to balance destroying bird habitat, wildlife corridors, forests, and pollution of a pristine stream and our air quality with economic development, especially when we have no idea if the economic benefit is greater than the future cost to infrastructure. How do you balance the preferences of the commissioners when one opposed the proposal, one supported it, and the other approved it with directions to planning staff to specifically commit developer to share road maintenance costs, provide adequate berms and sufficient landscaping, and screen a view from surrounding roadways and adjacent properties, as well as to be sure that the property and safety impacts from the increased traffic are addressed? And your concerns over the height increase amendment discussions have not been addressed. Your job is complicated by the fact that the proposed project is not by an airport or along godforsaken Route 40, but rather surrounded by citizens. Their lives, as well as those in Millington who drive their kids to Galena to school and use the roads daily, will be seriously impacted. Their homes, which some have lived in before the area was designated employment center, will decrease in value and become harder to sell. There will be increased air pollution and noise. These impacts cannot be wished away. Unfortunately, this project is not a collaborative effort where the applicants, citizens, and planning staff get together to discuss concerns, impact, and solutions. Rather, the out-of-state developer held one meeting with citizens in the area in October before the traffic study was even released. Their concerns were not cited in the preliminary report, nor were attempts to address their concerns listed. I see no evidence that the planning staff met with citizens to consider their needs and propose mitigation. We, Kent County, only get one chance to develop our valuable land and set precedents for future plans. Your decision today is critical as you decide to deny or approve and how you mitigate and minimize harm to our fellow citizens and environment, as well as encourage economic development, and must reflect the provisions of the land use ordinance. And I have to say that the green and blue bands around the building will not solve any of these problems. Thank you.
Vernon?
I don't need to speak.
Okay. Mark Keeley, you were, that's Judy Tubman.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your name and address, please.
My name is Dr. Judy Tubman. I live at 31239 Chesterville Bridge Road, and I'm a large animal veterinarian. I'm an equine practitioner. I own a 100-acre horse farm on Chesterville Bridge Road. In 2002, I built a veterinary clinic, and I provide services to both Kent County and the surrounding counties. I also put 22 acres of that 100 acres into CREP and built 2 Ducks Unlimited ponds there. For the past 2 decades, I have mentored numerous young people that want to be veterinary technicians, veterinarians, want to own horse farms, want to be riders, etc. Some of these actually still live in Kent County. One is a veterinarian in Kent County today. I moved to Kent County. I moved my vet practice from Queen Anne's County to Kent County because I liked the comprehensive plan and the 12 visions for growth that they have, for growth management policies that they have in Kent County. One of the principles states that growth occurs with the mutually agreed upon boundaries established by working with existing communities, provide the elements necessary to enrich the lives of citizens, i.e. health and safety environmentally. The enormous size of this project will be contradictory to the comprehensive plan. It will have a huge negative impact on the health of everyone living within miles by disrupting circadian rhythms through light and noise pollution. It is a fact that if you disrupt circadian rhythms, you will have a 30% increase in cancer in people. In addition, it will disrupt the waterfowl flyway, and that is a huge economic driver in Kent County. All my surrounding neighbors are, have waterfowl that they hunt or that they provide guidance for or whatever. I mean, this is a big economic driver in Kent County. The other thing that really concerns me is that Chester River currently has a C rating, and I know that this has been addressed several times, but I'll just bring it up real briefly. All of the thousands of square feet of impervious surface makes this a storm water hotspot, including the oil and the diesel runoff. And that is extremely impacting to the community for the fish, the wildlife, the watermen down in Rock Hall that make a living from crabbing and fishing and so forth. How will this impact my vet practice? I have horse trailers that come in and out of Chesterville Bridge Road, Edge Road, and so forth. If you have a horse in a trailer, you can't stop suddenly. If you got people in a lot of traffic and everything, and if I have a colic or a horse in distress coming into my practice and they have to sit there and wait for tractor trailers and people to come in and out of this facility, it's going to be really impactful. Also, I really worry about the safety of my employees there. I have a veterinary clinic. What's in a veterinary clinic? Xylazine, a lot of medications that are illegal. I do not want to have crime increase. A lot of times my parents lived with me since I built the place. I have a very difficult time. It's hard to find my house and everything else for the policeman alone. But if I have something that goes awry at the clinic, how are they going to get in and out of there? It's a real problem. All of my conservation and employment efforts will be in vain if this proposal goes to fruition. The 1986 Clean Water Act protects the Mill Stream. Property values will be decreased dramatically in the area. Please, let's find businesses that do what I do. Make a personal investment in this community. Provide employment. Provide a valuable service. Mentor and educate youngsters. Protect the environment. I do all these things. Kent County has done the right thing for decades. Let's not change course now. Let's not ignore why the majority of people live in Kent County. This is a unique entity. Let's keep it that way. Let's not regret allowing the high-cube redistribution centers be built in this county like they are regretted in other counties like Hartford County. Look it up. They have a lot of these high-cube redistribution places. Other counties have highly regretted putting them in there due to the impact on the environment and the negative impact on the tax base. It increases their taxes tremendously. The taxes for the roads rebuild, everything that goes in, the sheriff's services, the fire and everything else in the community, it just has a huge negative impact. I think all that needs to be explored, and it's a big undertaking. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to see if anyone's available remotely?
Is there anyone on the line that would like to speak to this application? Hearing none? That it? Okay.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah, is there anyone else who wants to speak to it? Yes, sir.
Mr. Larry Queen, I was going to ask, at the appropriate time, ask for a 2-minute recess so I could patch them in remotely.
I'll tell you what, we probably should take a break anyway for everyone's benefit, and 10 minutes maybe we'll get back, and then we can hear that, and then we can deliberate, I think.
And there will be chance for closing comments?
Yes, that's
Thank you.
part, yep.
Yeah. Bill, is there any refrigerator or water in there? No. Is there? If there is any, if not, is there a fountain? No one has a fountain. Turn off the light.
I'd just like to remind everyone in the room that our microphones are still on. We are broadcasting. We don't take breaks from broadcasting so that it doesn't go down. So everything you're saying is being heard and permanently recorded. Thank you.
Stay for the end. Do have something else. One of the short slots. Yeah. The AC is going in this little strip here. So, I mean, that's more what the short of it. But I can just on the outside there. Okay. Easy enough.
about ready to get started. We're going to try to get going here. Please quiet down. Beth, oh, sorry. Is there anyone in the hall? Just make sure. Thank you, man. Would you work at a movie theater or something? Thank you. We want to get started. We're going to have a summation from Attorney Nelson and then from Attorney McLeod, and then we may have some questions for them while you're from the commission here.
First, we're going to have the traffic engineer testify remotely.
Okay, yeah, right. Sorry, first. Okay.
I think he should, when the chair is ready, I think he should be ready. Fingers crossed.
Well, the chair is ready. I don't know if the electronics are ready. I'm not, all I got is one button here. On all.
It's called your belly button.
Yeah, no, that's two then.
Mr. Chair, while he's patching in, I just spoke to him a moment ago, he'll be here, he's going to be here. I told him my sense was that the commission wanted him just to make a presentation. I don't plan to conduct a direct examination, but if I'm mistaken in my understanding, I'll do that. But I was going to have him just make it
I appreciate that.
concise.
Yeah, I think that's what we'd like to.
Thank you.
If he can stay on afterward, if we have a question,
Yes, sir.
we'll be.
Is there anything we have to do to
No, he should be, I mean, he shows that he's part of the meeting, so he just needs to.
He's on there, Larry Gleason's on there.
It's on there, but it's
LG.
muted.
Mr. Green, you have to unmute and then turn on your computer, please.
He's just not sitting at his computer. So I spend at least a day a week doing. Teams meetings.
There he is.
Larry, what's his name? Larry's home.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of my clients, we have Larry Green, a traffic engineer, appearing virtually now. Previously submitted his report, which should be in your packet. And with the chair's guidance, I've asked him just to give an overview of his background very concisely and his opinions in this case.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Green.
Hello.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I forgot to swear you in. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your name and address for the record.
My name is Lawrence Green. My address is 1329 Mackinac Drive in Wake Forest, North Carolina. I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Maryland and also a nationally recognized professional traffic operations engineer. I also have worked for 18 years closely as an on-call consultant for the Maryland State Highway Administration so I'm well versed in their access requirements for new development approvals. So I just wanted to make I did an analysis. I looked at the traffic report and the site plans, and as stated previously by the applicant, the specific users of this development are not really known. However, what is known is that the applicant is trying to get approval for 490 employees at this site. Warehouses can encompass many different uses, including storage, office, and maintenance uses. Therefore, trip generation could vary significantly using just the square footage basis. And I'm going to just reference some notes I made. If we assume the square footage basis, as the applicant's traffic consultant has done, the trip generation, it only generates 66 inbound trips during the AM peak hour and only 64 outbound trips during the PM peak hour. And this would be for 490 employees. This would indicate that less than 1/6 of the employees are arriving or departing during the highest generation point of the day. Even if the site has multiple shifts, the fact that the peak shift, this would represent the peak shift, would only encompass 1/6 of the employees does not make sense. Therefore, the trip generation rates based upon the sought approval of 490 employees should have been used in the analysis. If we use the employee-based trip generation calculation rather than the square footage, the site would generate over 1,600 more daily trips, which is a 191% increase. The site would generate 214 more AM peak hour trips, which is over a 250% increase, and 234 more PM peak hour trips, which is a 267% increase. This is above and beyond the trips that the applicant has shown using the square footage basis. Therefore, we're talking 2 or 3 times as many trips that would be generated based upon using the employee-based trip generation rates. The second thing I looked at was really the site access issues. First being the access on Centerville Bridge Road. The proposed access point comes in at a nearly 45-degree angle. ASHTO, which is the ASHTO Green Book, which is basically the standard as how you should design roadways, recommends that driveways to roadways should not be skewed more than 15 degrees. This is skewed 45 degrees. There's many references to operational difficulties. If you can imagine exiting the driveway, let's say a truck is exiting the driveway or a car that wants to turn right out of the driveway to head towards US 301. In order to see traffic on Centerville Bridge Road, he has to turn his neck, not 90 degrees, but 135 degrees to be able to see the traffic coming on Centerville Bridge Road. This is definitely an operational safety issue. If every single person exiting that driveway, and now we're talking about traffic volumes being 2 or 3 times higher than what was shown in the traffic report, that each person has to do that. So to me, that represents a safety issue. The other site access issues, I think that driveway should be eliminated entirely, in my opinion. Again, the other issue is the northern driveway for Lot 2. They've already identified that the sight lines don't meet the standards. The State Highway Administration has recommended that driveway be designed as a right-in only driveway. If they did that, that would solve all the sight lines. The sight lines would not be an issue. I know they were talking about trying to clear some trees and all, but that wasn't the state highway's recommendation. They wanted a right-in only driveway. And I think that's all the points that I wanted to bring up.
Thank you. Can you stay on the line in case someone has questions?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. I think we'll listen to a summary from attorney for the attorney representing KCB and others, and then the applicant, and then we'll deliberate. Hope we can keep it brief.
Present recommendations and comments they would like after
I thought, they didn't do that? More than this?
not now, after the applicant.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Mason Nelson on behalf of the Kent Conservation and Preservation Alliance. I'll be concise. We respectfully suggest that the commission consider the special law issue. We think the Maryland law requires us to raise that issue in this proceeding. But turning to the substance of the case, we urge this body to consider the requirements in the zoning ordinance for the employment zone, and consider whether this site, whether this proposal satisfies the requirements for the compatibility and the protection of the environmental resources at this site. We urge this body to review the memorandum that we filed about the impacts on the other EC zone, commercial zone, industrial zones in the corridor. And we urge you to conclude that the adverse effects of this site are greater than they would be elsewhere in the corridor. And for that reason, you should disapprove the application. The screening, we believe, is a very serious issue. We urge you to give great weight to the fact that the applicant is relying on the screening on the state highway property, which is east of Edge Road, west of 301, and south of Chesterville Bridge Road. We urge you also to reject that screening because it doesn't meet the requirements of the code. We urge you to give weight to the fact that the applicant is relying on screening to the north of Lot 1, south of Chesterville Bridge Road, which is not within the footprint of this proposed development. We assert that they are not allowed to rely on off-site screening. That's a second example of that. And the third point is that even if the commission finds that screening is acceptable, which we think it's not, that overall the screening is inadequate to comply with the zoning ordinance requirements with respect to the screening of the buildings themselves, which we know to be, I think they said 49 feet high maximum. The forest conservation point is a very serious legal point. We addressed this in our memorandum regarding section 14.8 of the zoning ordinance. This is the point about the contiguous forest. And I must say that Ms. Gerber and Mr. Mackey and Ms. McGann have been very helpful with us in helping us get ready for this case. So there's no inherent criticism of what they did in this case, except that they missed this issue. And we urge you to take a hard look at that issue about the requirement for the protection of the contiguous forest. And we urge you to look at that and conclude that they're obligated to consider that. And you should disapprove this application and say, please consider this argument. With respect to the curb cut, they've asked for a waiver. We ask you to look at page 243 of the zoning ordinance, section D. There is no evidence in this record as to how they conform with that element of the required findings for a waiver. So we urge you, in the absence of that evidence, to disapprove the curb cut. The setback, we urge you to, of course, our fundamental position is this application should not be approved, but if it is approved, that we've advocated for setbacks of 100 feet from Chesterfield Bridge Road and 100 feet for Edge Road for the reasons that I mentioned. I think that those setbacks are consistent with the other data points in the ordinance. 100 feet for a primary road, 100 feet for a side road to a public road, and it gives respect to the rural nature of the community. The biking, it's more of a subjective argument, but I think it has merit. Several witnesses identified the role of biking in this community. The witnesses have identified portions of the various comprehensive plans that speak to the need to give respect to that and provide a means for biking. And what we have on the 291 overpass doesn't do that. And so we would urge you to think about that issue as well. So for all those reasons, on behalf of my clients, we respectfully urge you to disapprove these applications, and we also thank you again for allowing us to present our opposition to this body. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have anything, or, I don't know who's someone. We can both.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to summarize a couple of things. We, as you know, seeking preliminary site plan approval. The property is permitted, or the use is permitted in the Employment Center zoning district. The property is located in the growth area of the county. It's located in a priority funding area. It's served by public sewer and water. It's within the designated 301 corridor. And as mentioned before, it has easy access to 301, which is, as I mentioned, testified earlier, it's less than a mile. And that less than a mile, after some of the other discussion that has been had, other testimony, it speaks to two of the concerns that the opposition was talking about. One being cycling, so we're impacting 1 mile of county roadway, as opposed to having this located, say, in Wharton, where you have to come off 301, go through pretty much the entire county to get to Wharton, and it also limits the road maintenance responsibility for any agreement that's brought before DPW and the developer. I wanted to also mention that item D of the Item D was mentioned in terms of the separation for curb cuts. The waiver is requested as the minimum necessary to provide safe and efficient flow of tractor trailers and passengers' vehicles on and off the site. So the 3,000 feet is basically from Chesterville Bridge Road all the way back down to 291 or the Millington Road. So that is a huge stretch of road where they're saying no curb cuts. So we're saying that the minimum distance is requested between those to provide safe and efficient traffic movements. I'd like to also ask Mark Keeley to come up and address some of Mr. Green's comments.
Wait, I think, can you?
I could just ask him.
This is summarization.
Okay. All right.
He testified, I think.
All right, so in speaking with Mark Healy previously, even if we use the numbers based on the employees, as Mr. Green did, all of the levels of service of all the intersections in the area would still be A and B. So it's not a degradation of the level of service. Would there be more traffic? Yes, but the employees shown on the plans were kind of back calculated based on the ratio of parking to employees, the amount of parking that we showed could accommodate that many employees. That doesn't mean that we would have that many employees. For the county, if we had 490 employees, I think that'd be a good thing. But from a traffic standpoint, if you want to make it a condition of preliminary approval, we will come back with a revised traffic impact study. We note that the State Highway has already approved the traffic impact study that was provided. Design of access onto Chesterville Bridge Road, as I testified earlier, that was the direct result of negotiations and conversations with neighbors on Chesterville Bridge Road in the area. So that angle is something that we feel is appropriate for trying to keep traffic off of Chesterville Bridge Road, and we will certainly, as a condition of preliminary approval, take a look at signalized warning of tractor trailers coming out of the area, down Chesterville Bridge Road. And again, State Highway originally did for the northern access to Lot 2, suggest a right-in, right-out. We met with State Highway, and we asked them what the issue was, and they said it was site distance, and we said, well, if we increase the site distance, would that be acceptable? And their last letter said that that access would be acceptable if the site distance was addressed, and so we would propose to address the site distance. In terms of screening, we are more than committed to provide screening on site. We'll do berms where needed. I think we might do berms on the north side for sound, but berms are typically not the best for landscaping because it's hard for the plants to survive, and there's no water out there yet. So we would look at doing a robust screening on the edge road side and a berm/screening on the north side of Lot 1. And I believe that's all I have. Oh, one more thing, I'm sorry. The biking issue on the bridge, that, I hear that is a concern, I'm sure, but that's an existing condition, and that's something that State Highway should address and not the next developer coming in. And again, to the biking issue, we're impacting 1 mile of county roads. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chip.
Sure, thank you, Kevin. And actually, just to dovetail on that topic of the biking and the bridge, many that have been following sort of the plans for Millington Crossing and all the discussion about the Millington growth area, the original plans of Mitchell Richardson, I remember them because I thought they were pretty cool, have a pedestrian bike bridge going across from the west to the east side of 301, so people can get from Miles Branch to downtown Millington. That's the master plan. And the only way that works is safe passage over 301, or I guess under. But the original plans years ago, when he went and started talking to the community, he said, imagine this. You could walk or bike from the west side of 301 to the east side safely to downtown Millington. Not over the bypass, over something that hopefully one day the State Highway Administration will see the vision of putting in, and then maybe there's a being welcome sign right at this transformational project in Kent County that says, welcome to the Eastern Shore. That was in the master plan. So the thought of how to get pedestrians and cyclists around all this 400 acres has been well thought out. It's not, hey, today we can't bike safely across the bypass. I don't think anybody thought that was the original intention of that bridge. I just want to say thank you to the staff and for all the time on this project. It's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts, and certainly for the favorable recommendation. We're at this point in this process where we're here for preliminary plan approval. We would hope we get comments that make the plan even better and back for final, right? There's a lot of information presented. I know there's some last minute issues that have been raised, and I hope you all can reasonably sort through that. I want to observe this too. I hear this so much. You all hear it. I live here. Kent County is a beautiful place. Historical vistas, cultural vistas, all this. I hear it. But our population today is the same as it was in the Civil War. So this whole thing about it's great, we love Kent County, we all love it, but something's not working. It's not like our population has quadrupled because it's so great and it looks so great. So what's happening? Are we just getting a bunch of new people every few years that say it's so great, don't let anything else happen, we want to keep... So I'm going to observe, as somebody who's lived here not as long as a lot of other people, this site is next to an interchange. That video that was shown was interesting. It was so interesting because it didn't show Route 301, which is right next to those nice pictures they showed you. It didn't show the proximity to the existing State Highway Salt Dome. It didn't show the proximity to a bunch of dilapidated structures that have been sitting around this interchange for decades. I mean, frankly, that gateway to Kent County is a bit of an eyesore when you look at it the way some other people look at it. So let's not forget, all this property is right next to a major interchange on a major highway that's getting busier and busier by the day. So when we talk about contiguous forest and forest interior dwelling birds, we get all that. But this location, right next to a major highway, which wasn't shown in that cute video, is really why we're here. The county has had this property zoned this way for 20-plus years. You've all heard this. It's in the comp plan. It's got it all. You're down to sort of some really specific issues which are important to work through. But big picture, this really checks a lot of the boxes at this stage. So I hope you will consider that. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So, I would like to just finish this up. Thank you.
Would you like, okay.
Yeah,
I'll leave
you
it.
do
No, I'll
whatever you want,
excuse
brother.
myself.
So, I want to put this picture in everybody's thoughts, because not everybody does what I do. I get that. I get everybody in here. There's very few people who get what I do. It starts out, we look at a piece of property and we look at the potential for this property. Then we look at the fundamentals of the property. What is it zoned? How long has it been zoned? What is the need? So we start to look at all these things. And really what this board here is to do today is to look at this site, follow the ordinance, follow the law, and determine, do we fit in all of the boxes? And the answer is yes. The ordinances are in place. We've done everything asked of us and more and way above and beyond for state highways. We would have been in here 5 months earlier had it not been a request of the state highways that we didn't have to do, and we did it. I understand people are talking about arcs and parabolas of trucks. I understand where this gentleman is filing motions. I understand how we started out today. But the fundamentals of this deal, and this is why I want to tell you how my business works. The fundamentals in this deal have been in place for 25 years. Your master plan, it was even on KCPA's website. Everything that I am here, my team is here, discussing, presenting, is by the book, by the law, and in line with all of the county ordinances. Thank you very much.
Staff recommendations.
Hey, Jeff.
What?
I have a question to ask Kevin.
Real quick, go ahead.
Me sitting here today, was what I consider that really the biggest concern is Chester River Bridge Road. That road is not fit for tractor trailers. That road is used basically for people walking and bikers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this picture, right?
Uh-huh.
You have lot 1 going into Chester River, Chesterville
Bridge Road, right.
Road. Why can't you eliminate that and don't let no trucks go in there?
So we need to provide circulation around the building, and that's the way we can do that. If we were to keep that road and bring it on out to Edge Road, it would be too close to the intersection there of Chesterville Bridge Road. I think what they were alluding to earlier of Chesterville Bridge Road in terms of biking and, I mean, I know the neighbors that live in that proximity, they walk that, but the biking aspect of it, I don't think is right there at 301. I think it's the rest of Chesterville Bridge Road to the west. Our impact on Chesterville Bridge Road from 301 to our Lot 1 access is very limited.
I see where you have 2 inches, lot 1. Why can't you eliminate that first entrance and turn everything right past lot 2 and go to 301?
Say that
In
again?
other words, you don't use Chesterfield Bridge Road at all. Let the neighbors have that road. That's their road. That's the road that they walk, bikers got. Just eliminate that lot 1. Don't now come in that road. Can you do that?
Hey, James, I appreciate, Kevin can give more answers, but we're going to deliberate. I think whatever this board decides, that input is
I
important.
get your point.
Yeah, and I think I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying. It's
Thank
just, your input is important. Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, I'm giving this lady my card so she can do a little digging.
Okay, you can handle that on your time, sir.
Thank you for remembering, I appreciate it.
That's okay. Thank you. I just wanted to say that staff stands by the staff report and reaffirms that the proposal meets the requirements of the land use ordinance and is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff recommends the findings as outlined on page 8 of the staff report, and I can certainly answer any questions if things have come up.
Any questions for staff before we
Yeah.
go?
Well, I'll get, just on
Wait a
the,
minute, so-
to add is
Oh,
quasi-staff.
are you, as quasi-staff, go ahead. Hold on, if you can hold on, Bill.
I just wanted to comment on one thing because it's pertinent to your deliberation, and that is that you don't have to prove anything, and I think you know that. There's no burden of proof here that has to be met. That what the zoning ordinance requires for you is to review the site plan and supporting documents, taking into consideration the reasonable fulfillment of the following objectives. And they're in the staff report. So I just want to make that comment, that there's no remand to staff, and that's it. Over to you.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering, part of that 3,000-foot waiver, it is item C where it says the waiver will not create a safety hazard or increase traffic congestion. And we got the state road saying that one entrance had inadequate sight distance and still recommends, I'm assuming, a right-hand turn out only. And the one up on Chesterville Forest Road, I mean, both of them have been said they're not safe. So that's the only thing I've got on it, And they were cutting down trees for a sight distance. How many of them are going out of there? And that definitely isn't going to, that's what we were talking about with providing screening off-site or trying to claim screening off-site. It just, right there, shows one reason why you can't do that.
Carla, did you consider the screening off-site?
For the screening on the north side, I believe that there is a TAC comment that indicated the applicant would need to come up with some sort of agreement. And I know in his letters, Kevin has indicated that they acknowledge that comment. It unfortunately did not make it into this staff report, but it has been addressed. And I think as far as the larger state highway property goes, yes, we were willing to consider that as being acceptable screening.
The state highway would be acceptable screening for
Yes.
this project?
There's like 25 acres or so that years ago was designated for the Bay Country Welcome Center, when you look at old state highway plats. And that just, given the location, given everything else, that's likely to not become a welcome center, and so staff felt that it was safe to consider it for screening.
Has that been a policy we've done before? Just if we have done it, I don't remember, but if we have.
I don't know, we haven't had this situation
Okay.
before.
All right, good. All right, it's up here for deliberations and to make the applicant vote on the application. I think some people have mentioned whatever decision, but there's some conditions they want us to, Jim's condition about, or concern about that road, screening, curb cuts, those kind of things, or or follow up or down on the staff's approval, so.
Well, I think as far as the landscape, and I'm back on that again, I mean, when all those deliberations on height, and part of one of the county commissioners' reasons for saying that he would agree to that height requirement was that he wanted to see significant screening and berms, if it had to be accomplished by berms, to be accomplished. Now that didn't get into the zoning ordinance, but, I mean, that was the gist of what I heard, and I just, we run into this all the time, the screening and landscaping is always serious lacking on plans, and very serious lacking on the final projects when they're built. And, I don't have a problem with the project up there, but I do have a problem with the way that it's being presented as far as, it just looks like it's done on the cheap to me. And I have seen residential structures in the critical areas on a half-acre lot with more trees and shrubs required on it than a 20-acre site with 12 acres of clear coverage on it. So, I think it can be done. And it was almost, I just sometimes feel like they come in here and say, well, let's go in and see what if they take it, fine. If they want more, we'll do more. And I think that could be done. And I really think, accel and decel lanes coming out on that road, I don't ride that road all the time, but I do use it. But I use the other roads in Kent County more, and all of them, they've got tractor trailer trucks coming out there on 291. They're clear across the road, and they've got to get up steam at some point, and we're coming around the curve on this one. So I would much rather see that put in now than 5 years from now, and the taxpayers of the county have to take care of that.
Thank you. Ray, you think?
For me, it was the Chesterville Bridge Road. It has the substandard skewed, and driving truck, which I've do, that is a pretty good turn, and I would ask that maybe they kind of come in more of a 90 to it, versus at a skewed 45, because that is a hard turn for a truck driver with a lot of stuff going on there. But that's my concern that I had.
And I think that was done for trying to keep them from turning right, but turning left. Maybe the tractor trailer trucks wouldn't, but everybody else go out there. I sit at the McDonald's and watch no right turn every morning,
Why did they tee off the road down here by Church Hill, coming out by the deli?
But anyhow.
Paul, you have any thoughts on this application?
Most of them, Bill has already said, so I'll try not to repeat them, but I do have a concern again with the buffering, with the safety of the entrances and whatever. I would also like to ask the applicant, is there?
I think we're deliberating, but.
Well, we're into deliberating, but I'm still going to ask it. With the paving, I know they make a pavement now that is somewhat porous. Would that hold up under trucks?
I can answer that. It is more for parking lots, and
Well, you got a large parking lot, right?
Yeah, but a lot of people don't go to it because it clogs and then it's.
Okay, I saw it. I'm sorry, but we'll do that real quick. But the way I really feel is I would like to see this. I have a hard time, quite honestly, approving preliminary because we go back and forth on the difference of opinion on preliminary. But I would like to see in front of me what we're really going to look at. And I think there's enough changes that there has to, I think we need to see something new.
Okay. Sean, any thoughts?
Yeah, again, the idea of bringing something and the location there being ideal, realistically, we only have 2 exchanges to 301 in the entire county, and we're building right next to one within a mile of everything. But given said that, a couple concerns that came up that I think we should put conditional, and I realize you guys spent a lot of money on traffic study, but clearly there's some dispute and a lot of talk about traffic and everything else. So as a condition, I would think that after preliminary, certainly before final approval, that they should have an updated traffic study that now includes an idea of who the tenant may be, so we can have some kind of accurate, and maybe it's just modifying, taking the study that's been done, and let's put some real numbers to it, because we're throwing around numbers that are from, 0 to 490 or whatever it is, and it's really hard for anybody to wrap their head around that difference. So I would definitely like to see that. And obviously, it looks like they're trying to address some of the off-screen sighting that they have, and maybe they can do that, and then that may become appropriate. But clearly, I think that should go in there. And given the very short distance of road that is likely to be traveled by the traffic from this facility, I think they should explore some kind of road maintenance agreement with the county, so that we don't fall into the trap of, these small rural roads falling apart and the economic benefit to the county disappearing when we have to rebuild them all. So that's my comments.
James? Your question on Chesterfield Bridge Road is,
Well, follow the ordinance. You're gonna build something, the county gonna give you something. Follow it and do it right. If you do it right, I'm in your corner. But if you do it wrong, if you're coming out wrong from the beginning, then it's gonna end up wrong. From what I heard of what you, Dave and Kevin said, and what you'd like to do, get done, and what your lawyer said today about how King County is deteriorating as far as the population there, it might be a help. But you gotta, your most important thing that I feel is for the neighbors. Make sure it's safe. That's your number one. That's their road, that's not yours. Make sure it's safe. They own that road. They've been on this road for a long time. Don't take it away from them. If you do anything, make it better. That's all I got to say.
thank you, James. I'll echo a lot of what we heard. I do have a problem with, for our businesses, here is precedent setting using neighboring properties for screening, particularly the state. I think if there's an agreement with the other neighbor that would handle that, if they have some agreement, easement or something. I do still have a problem with the FIDS birds. I think we're going to the max there, but I think that could be handled with a change in setbacks there, and then the berms, I think. So I'm in agreement with what I've heard here today. Hearing that, we can make a motion either way. Someone can make a motion either way with approval with conditions maybe, or disapproval with conditions or with recommendations, right? Is that, we've done both. You can do it either way, sort of, or outright approval and disapprove, either one too. That's obviously.
Approve with conditions, right? Disapprove.
With reasons.
Denial with reasons, right?
Okay.
Denial of reasons. But also you can get additional information
Okay.
and defer. Or ask the applicant if they'd like to table it and provide.
Yeah, that's another option if the applicant at some point.
But it's
here-
you have the discretion to do
Yeah,
that.
that's, we've all included in the public and the applicant, and would love to see a motion or so we can give them some clarity on where to go.
You say, we can ask the applicant then if they would address what we're after and then come back without having to approve the preliminary or disapprove it.
You've done that before, and.
But the tabling is at the applicant's request, not ours.
Well, I know that's been done in the past, but the zoning ordinance permits you to do that. It says, if the planning commission determines that more information is required for a decision to be made on the proposal, the planning commission may table its consideration of the plan.
That's what I would like to do.
In general, I'm not in favor of that because the applicants deserve their vote with conditions or recommendations or not, or deny it, period. But my point is that I think we heard a lot. It's not perfection, it is preliminary, but I think we can ask for conditions and then we'll see it in a final probably with a lot of that addressed. But that's my opinion, that unless they want to table it, I'm not in favor of us delaying a process that they've initiated.
Yeah, we prefer not to table it. I mean, obviously, we prefer to get a preliminary with conditions, and we can come back with those conditions.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. I was a little confused with coming back for final. It sounds to me like you may not come back here until you have your tenants all in line? And then you were coming back here, and that could be when, you know?
Do you want me to answer that?
I would, yeah. I mean, that was my interpretation of what I understood you to say, is that you couldn't come back, you needed preliminary, but then you had to come back for final, but only when you found out what uses were going to go in there.
So this is how I, that's why I asked how you want me to answer. This is how I'll say this. Right now, we work with every one of the major players, CBRE, JLL, all the big realtor players. You've all seen their signs all over the place. We have brought in somebody who I have over a 30-year relationship to do that. And she used to work with me at the Flynn Company in Philadelphia. So this is how this process works. Is right now there's probably 36 people who are saying to the JLLs, the CBREs, to the brokerage, I have a need. I have a need for 180,000 square feet. I need to be on a road. I need this. I need that. I need this. So if we just drew a circle around where I'm sitting right now, the world has 2.5 to 3 dozen entities who are looking for space. So logically, that's where we start. Within period of time, these tenants, let's just make it up, and no, I don't want to make it up because I said 2 employees and then 490 employees and they get all construed, and that was all just for context. So let's just say an entity comes to us with X amount of need, X amount of employees. I will know that. I will know that pretty quickly. I will know that because my broker will tell me who that is, and I already know we've identified several of them. So we know, as a general rule, who's looking for what, when they're looking, what the time frame is, and when can I deliver it. So I know right now of about 28 to 36 entities that are looking for space. And ironically, as horrible as it was, the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsing has enhanced that. So I have a general idea of what it's going to be. The traffic study, all of them, know the general idea when you're doing a 250,000 square foot building, 5,000 square foot of office, 45-foot clear heights. We have a general idea. Somebody said, bring in when you identify it, you're going to bring in a traffic study. Of course we will. That's part of the final approval, and this is where you and I separate on preliminary and final. So I don't have a problem with decel lanes. I don't have a problem with acel lanes. I don't have a problem with making it safe. Of course we're going to make it safe. One of the main reasons, and I am adamant on this, one of the main reasons why we have a loop road, an entrance coming in and an entrance going out, is for the exact thing that this gentleman said is safety. I want the civilian passenger cars here. I want the trucks going around them. I don't want the people to cross the road to go to work that haven't had their coffee. They're a little bit tired. The trucker's been up all night, and I don't want them to run them over. Hence, a loop road. It's the safest way to do it. The employees park in the middle. Of course, we're going to address the berms. I agreed with Mrs. Durham. It doesn't make it into the plan, but of course I did that. But to me, a berm is something we get to in the nitty-gritty when you're saying, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. We can't give you a final approval until you have it. Of course you can't. I get it. The problem here is we can't even chat up until we have something to chat up. So you're giving me a preliminary approval, you're giving us a preliminary approval. And let's not forget the tax ratables and the tax income, whether I have 2 people or 40 people working in that building, it's a fortune for this county. Doesn't matter what's in there, what my widget is, what the people are. Those people, yeah, they're gonna pay some income tax, they're gonna buy some hot dogs, they're gonna go over the blah, blah, blah. But what really matters to this county, what really matters to the financing world is what is this rateable? And this rateable is $70 million. That is the biggest rateable you have in this county. So now, what we're looking at is a health and safety issue for bike riders. I can't be responsible for a bridge that was built in 1967. It's not my problem.
I think did you get your answer, Bill?
I've had it,
I appreciate it. We just.
Right on.
Okay.
Well, I think you got a couple things you got to vote on. You got to vote on the 3,000 feet. You got to vote on the 100-foot first.
Can't include those in, I guess we can't.
I don't know, that's,
I think you should make the vote separately.
Okay.
I think you should make the vote separately, the waiver vote.
Okay, we have a waiver on the 3,000-foot curb, reduction of 3,000-foot curb cut. Does anyone have a motion on that? And staff, what was their opinion on that? Yeah, but I'm saying what.
Well, and I guess that depends if you're going to make a motion to approve the,
That's what I was wondering, would you
Yeah.
approve it with those, if it can, with that in the motion? Can you do it in one or not?
I think if you were to grant a preliminary approval with conditions, you could also make a second motion to, well, it's part of the site plan. I think you could include it.
Okay, what's our rationale for approving the waiver on the curb cuts, and if that's of the interest, or what is this? The staff recommended it for what reason?
they didn't give.
No reason. What was the reason, Carl? Save us some time.
Like you to answer, Carl?
Uh,
So, at the very beginning of this process, staff has been relying on SHA. We met with them personally, and SHA said that they would take a look at this for us, because we don't have the staff to make those kind of decisions. So the letter from SHA that, you all have in your packet is what we're relying on for our recommendation.
And they didn't give any reasons, they just said it.
I think they went through their process and they analyzed it, and that was their, conclusion. I mean, they have to do a fairly extensive review, so.
The reason for asking for that again was the distance down to the other road site.
Well, if you do approve it, then we need to talk about that sight line too then, right? To provide the sight line.
Yeah, because that was part of the state highway
We had a
recommendation.
condition.
If you approve it, they recommended the sight line be improved.
Correct.
Where the heck is it?
Well, I don't have the thing here from the state highway, but I'll make a motion that we grant the variance from the 3,000-foot distance for curb cuts,
The waiver.
the waiver. Staff finds the proposal complies with the spirit and intent of the land use ordinance and the comprehensive plan, that the waiver will not cause a substantial detriment to it adjacent or neighboring property, that the Maryland Department of Transit has said that the waiver will not create a safety hazard or increase traffic congestion, that the waiver is the minimum necessary to relieve the practical difficulty and is not sought for reasons of convenience, profit, or caprice.
Okay, we have a motion, a second?
I'll say.
Second. Any discussion?
Again, we probably should amend to make sure they address the sight line issue if the waiver's granted, that the state highway administration was asking for.
Right.
I don't know if you want to.
Well, you got it. You got it.
You amend your motion?
Yes, I'll amend that to have that, and I think AI probably picked that up.
I hope so. All right, we have an amended motion with Bill's recommendation with also,
You have to vote on the amendment.
right, that's what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
okay,
I said
sorry.
with the sightline, SHA sightline approval. So, second for that one?
Second.
Any more discussion? I'll call the question. Ray?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
And I'll vote with the affirmative. So that, the waiver is approved. Okay, the second is the 100-foot, or the setbacks. Or-
I'm not aware of any requirements. It's basically, I think it's set up to allow the setbacks in the context of what the planning commission finds acceptable in site plan.
I think 15 feet along Chesterville or Woods Edge Road's pretty substantial reduction. I don't worry about it on this site plan, but next thing you know, you could have something else built out there within 15 feet of the road or the right-of-way. Maybe something more to where the edge of the parking lot is, maybe, to keep that from being in the front yard. But at least, I don't know how far it is from Edge Road to the
Yeah, I can't, well, I don't have
parking
the
lot,
big
but it's
plan.
probably 50 feet, maybe. And that would be consistent with the building restriction line that they
Yeah,
asked for a reduction on Lot 1.
yeah, it should be at least 50, I think, no 15.
50 cover that parking lot with a 50-foot setback off of Edge Road, clear the parking lot.
For which lot?
1.
One. There's already 49 feet or something like that.
So not if there was a demand for more parking and that parking row had to double, then we would be into that.
Well,
one.
I think I would go with 50 myself
Instead of 100.
instead of 100, and that would be consistent with the 50-foot setback that we're doing on lot number 2 as well.
Right.
Well, lot number one's technical frontage is on Chesterville Bridge Road, so we are showing a 50-foot on that.
But on an adjacent road, it's 100 feet. That could be reduced. If I'm reading it right,
You're reading it correctly.
am I? So I'd go to 50 on
50,
that, and
50
50
for-
on the, on lot number 2. Then they're both right at 50 feet,
Yeah. that's
consistent,
For front yard.
front and side.
Front and side.
Runs it for both, all road frontage.
Front and side along the public roads.
Along Chester, or
Yeah.
Edge Road.
Chesterfield Bridge. Is that a motion, or
I don't know, we mean to make a motion on
just,
that, do
okay,
we?
with-
Yeah, I think you should make a motion that you all agree on those setback changes.
All right, let me see.
It's part of your site plan review process, but
Do that
just
separate.
indicate agreement.
I make a motion that we give a variance to, a 50-foot variance from the required 100-foot setback along Edge Road and Chesterville Bridge Road. I need to use it.
It's not a variance, you can increase or decrease it as part of site plan review.
And I make a motion that we decrease the required 100-foot setback along Chesterville Bridge Road and Edge Road to 50 feet.
we have a motion, a second?
Second.
All right, I'll call the question. James Saunders,
Yes.
John Jones,
Yes.
Paul Ruge,
Yes.
Bill Crowdy,
Yes.
Ray Strong.
Yes.
And I'll vote with the affirmative. Affirmative. Okay, now we are up to a yea or nay on the preliminary plan with conditions, if or up or down, period. And if it's with conditions, we have, we've considered, I think, firms, traffic study, road maintenance, Chesterfield Bridge, access, safety, FIDS, I have one after, what's that? Can't read my own writing.
And I'm going to say that we can't count any off-site.
Yeah,
Planning and
that's what
screening.
I had also, yeah.
And I'd like to have them investigate the Axel, D-cell lanes.
Okay, put it,
Developer
put
says
whatever,
he
you know,
doesn't do
anything,
what he
you-
needs to
and
do.
James, if you refrain on that road, if you want to investigate getting off Chesterfield Bridge Road,
Right.
someone take the weight off of Bill there.
He usually has such long-winded,
Yeah,
ones.
I was
and
told
don't
you
know
had
if we
to.
can Make one that long. Can we shorten them up?
We call that inclusive, not
Yeah.
long-winded.
All right, I make a motion that we grant preliminary approval for Lot 1 and Lot 2 of Millington Crossing Associates LLC. We find that the proposal is consistent with many strategies and goals of the comprehensive plan. To the best of our knowledge, the subdivision and site plans will conform with the provisions and all applicable rules and regulations. We've approved curb cuts. The vehicle circulation appears to promote clearly defined access to loading and trailer parking, and the employee and visitor parking, multiple entrances per parcel will help achieve this separation. Sidewalks across the front of the buildings will promote pedestrian safety. Provisions have been made for off-street loading and unloading. Adequate lighting is proposed, and provisions for safe internal traffic flow have been included. There will be no known unreasonable demands on public services or infrastructure. I believe the applicant's working with the Department of Public Works. The comprehensive water and sewage plan will need to be amended. Stormwater management will be addressed during final approval. And a citizens' participation meeting was held on October 19th. We have following conditions we'd like to put on that preliminary approval that will need to be met for final approval. And I don't have that list in front of me.
I have berms. Further berms on Chesterville Bridge Road. Further traffic study based on tenancy. No off-site screening. A road maintenance agreement with DPW on Chesterville Bridge Road. Investigate no access to Chesterville Bridge Road. Investigate decel and XL lanes. That's really all, I think. So I've got something about safety.
Off-site screening?
I did the off-script, yeah, no
off-site screening.
No off-site screening. And the road maintenance agreement with DPW over Chesterville Bridge Road. And the turning, investigate the turn at Chesterville Bridge Road, or eliminate it, it would be better. If that's James's idea, was to do that.
No off-site screening or off-site screening with, they were looking at exploring an agreement or something.
Yeah.
I mean, off-site screening needs to be addressed.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
There's other ways to address it other than.
And I think when they come back for final approval, we're looking at, well, let's make that motion.
Okay, do you want to just add those
Yes, add your comments.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll call the question. Ray Strong? Aye. Bill?
Aye.
Paul Ruge?
I'll say aye, just to put it forward.
Sean Jones?
Aye.
James Saunders?
Aye.
And I'll abstain. Thank you. All right, the applicant, you have your preliminary approval with conditions.
Thank you all for your time.
And Kevin, I think honestly, when you come back, we're probably looking at a final approval for this site developed at its maximum. And then if it's less, it's less, but at least you'll be approved for the maximum could go in there.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, we've asked how much traffic, how many trucks, how many cars, we can't get that answer. I don't know how you can come back in here for final without that.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so.
And James said he wants this road investigated, to do that. I mean, you got curb cuts shortened on the other, so that could be a condition, that could happen there too.
Okay, thank you all.
All right, thank you. Oh, jeez.
I have a bomb for her tonight.
Yeah. What is it? Yes, I don't know what it is.
I remember when we just used to do pier permits.
Well, the trouble is, it was framed as yes or no.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to put it on.
You must be misinterpreting. You're really not taking down that many trees.
That's why I want to see it on the edge.
Yeah.
That continuous forest goes all down.
Yeah, it's just that they're at, we didn't just address it, but it's that tone, which is yours, is that you're supposed to do something, but they could do it.
No, but if there's a question, at least it's right.
Your mic's
Buildings to size.
Yeah, but to keep the
Yeah.
plan they had.
Yeah,
I thought it was very minimal forest
I've been in here
disturbance.
twice.
Yeah.
I was in here the end of last week to get the one pile.
Oh,
He needs it on. We gotta get moving.
yeah. Okay, now staff's ready. We're ready for,
We're ready, sir. And we
thank
will-
you.
In the essence of
We got the map
time,
change requests.
yes. In the essence of time, I'll try to make
Excuse
it
me,
quick.
we're continuing our meeting, so appreciate it. Thank you.
So there's two items for your vote. The first item is a single request. We had discussed this request by Joyce Rogers. Staff didn't understand it. I did speak with her on the phone, and she submitted a letter clarifying her request. Instead of asking for commercial residential, the idea was to ask for community residential, and this board did grant that to some other property owners right in that area. So staff would recommend approval of that. There would be a simple motion to approve that, and then all of your recommendations have been included in a comprehensive combined zoning map and a lovely chart that Carla prepared, so that you would be able to make a single motion to the county commissioner to recommend this map, in the same way that you did with the land use ordinance text.
One question, I think I'm up in Kennedyville
Yes, sir.
where it shows that piece that belongs to Phillips. Didn't we vote to make that an employment center?
We did, and it has been done. Is it not right on the chart?
Yeah, but I know it's been changed, but it just wasn't right on that chart.
Okay.
If you can find Kennedy.
That
This?
way, don't you anybody
Well, this
go
is
figure out
Chestertown
everything on
right
that
here.
chart, see if it's
Yeah,
right.
that isn't it.
That's right.
After all that.
There it is, right there it is,
Or is this
right
it?
up here.
Right there?
Yeah, it should be brown.
You come sort that out.
Hi, I don't want to interrupt. This is Joyce Rogers. I'm actually on the call. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry we didn't recognize you. Do you have any, we saw the plan and we're recommending your request be approved. I think.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, appreciate you
Will I
hanging in there.
receive some type of a confirmation in the mail or anything, or how, will I get anything in writing, or is this just going to be done as one overall approval for everybody or decline for everybody at once?
Ms. Rogers, I can certainly provide you a copy of the minutes, because there'll be a separate motion for your item.
Okay, wonderful. I appreciate that.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You too, thanks.
Bye-bye.
I know.
So what do you want? Do you want a motion for Rogers and a motion for
We already did,
Matt?
oh.
Yeah?
Make a motion.
Make a motion. All right, let me see what I got here.
Let's make a nice short one.
Yeah.
Let's make a motion that we approve Joyce Rogers' request.
I'll second.
All right.
We know what her request is. There you go.
Second.
That's that for sure.
I second.
Okay, all in, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Bill and Carla. You go ahead with the final. Any comments or just?
I don't think so, no. This
Was that
this map
indeed
reflects
wrong
all
on
of your
there?
motions. The proposed map reflects all of your motions. So this is the product of the 50 items that you went through individually, so.
Well, I'll make the motion that we approve the consolidated map change requests and recommendations prepared by the staff, which reflect zoning changes that we have already approved, and the and the amended, updated map for presentation to the county commissioners.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
One or the other. Any discussion?
I got a question. On here, if we put it to the commissioners, we just went through a whole meeting with Employment Center. Now Employment Center is going away. Or at least the area that we're talking about has now become mixed-use development over
Not
there.
for this property.
No, actually it is.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
We double-checked his map for that.
Okay, thank you. I stand corrected.
It's still in there.
I'm sorry?
It's still in there as a permitted use.
It's still in there, but, okay, because, by
Basically,
changing the
everything that was
designation.
Employment Center
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
still in there.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just asking.
Good question.
because I don't want it to come up. And I see the color change.
Okay, any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations. Thank you for all your work on would have been a
Are we
four-year-
really
a four-year
finished with
pro-
it
You're
now?
really, really done, yes.
What? I can move now. I think we've been doing it since I moved here.
Thank you. I appreciate staff, all you guys have done to keep us on track there.
Since I moved here. I can go to another job.
Staff reports.
I think we'll forego staff reports today, sir.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you. All right.
Congratulations on your whole meeting today. That was very well handled.
What about next month?
Yeah, next month.
Yes, thank you. You have the date. Is July 11th working for you, or do you want to set it later?
If you can't make it, but it doesn't
July
matter.
11th does not work for me.
Okay.
When is it?
It's the second Thursday because the 4th is a Thursday, July 4th.
Can we move the day? Can we move?
Certainly. You can make it whatever day you wish.
I mean, we put it down to the first
You
week
guys like a
of the
short
month.
day on that day, huh?
So why don't we do it the
I-
second or, the second?
That's fine. I will
Why
be
don't
there.
we do it?
We
the
can't do it on
Wednesday after-
Tuesday.
Wednesday
can't.
after the fourth.
Commissioners meet on Tuesdays.
Oh, okay.
I mean, staff's got to get it all ready and everything, and I don't know about them, but that.
They can do that Thursday. I won't be available.
Like
Yeah,
tomorrow,
well,
about
it's-
the week
If they want to
before.
do it the next Thursday,
We can't
that's
make it, we
fine.
can't make it, but
Thank you, John.
Where are we?
I
Who's
could
on
do it the
11th?
Wednesday after the 4th. Would that work?
So the 5th?
Well,
that's the Friday.
That's a Friday.
The 10th.
The 4th is a Thursday this
Be
year.
the 10th.
Oh, the 10th, I see what you're saying. I'm
Can
sorry.
you
So
keep it
be
on
all right?
Wednesday the
Thursday? Because it doesn't, that whole week I'm not available, so if you're putting it,
I don't know,
moving the
everyone doesn't
day
have their
because of me, don't do that,
calendars.
because I'm not making it.
Is Sean the only one that can't make it on the 10th?
Or the 11th.
Do it on the
July
11th,
11th.
that's fine, I just won't be able to.
You can't make it though,
Yeah,
right,
it's not.
James?
Huh?
The 11th is no good for you?
Oh, it's good. I'll be back now.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
I'm
do
here,
it,
I
do it the
think.
11th. That's better than Wednesday.
Keep it on Thursdays.
Okay,
Keep the agenda short.
I agree with the 11th.
okay. Thank you all so
but would
much.
you do the staff report before the holiday, or?
Can we get the packet done before the
I
holiday?
mean, the packet, yeah. Would it be done? I'm just asking.
Yes,
when
the
it would be
packet
done.
will be done by July 3rd.
Okay.
By July when, I'm sorry?
Third.
That's
Third.
good for you.
Good
right?
question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds good to me.
very good. Thank you then.
You all.
Cindy, do you have anything? Thank you for all your help in handling the meeting today, this week.
My pleasure.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.